The rain fell in relentless sheets, drumming against the weathered planks of the floating docks like the beating of a war drum. Captain Rourke stood motionless, his coat soaked through and clinging to his lean frame, eyes fixed on the smoking wreckage of the Seabreaker. The once proud skyship, his command and his pride, now lay shattered like the fragments of his reputation. The air was thick with the acrid scent of burning wood and salt, mingling with the cold sting of failure that wrapped around him tighter than the storm's chill. Around him, the murmurs of the gathered crowd were low and bitter, whispers of blame and scorn that seemed to pierce deeper than any blade. His name was spat with contempt, a shadow cast over the airborne sailing community that once revered him. The catastrophe had unfolded with brutal swiftness. A reckless maneuver in the volatile currents, a misjudged turn that sent the Seabreaker careening into a violent tempest, conjured by the haunted sea below. The ship had been torn apart amidst the roaring winds and ghostly light, lives lost and a legacy shattered. The council had convened swiftly, their verdict unforgiving. Stripped of rank, dishonored, and cast out, Rourke found himself adrift in a world that had once been his domain. He pulled his coat tighter and turned away from the wreckage, the weight of 1,000 eyes burning into his back. His footsteps echoed hollowly on the wet wood as he made his way through the floating market, past stalls abandoned under the storm's threat, and into the shadowed alleys where the city's light grew dim. The salty tang of the submerged world clung to everything, a reminder of the vast oceans that slept beneath the airborne isles, and of the secrets they kept. In a dimly lit tavern nestled between two soaring spires, the air heavy with smoke and whispered curses, Rourke sought refuge. The flickering lanterns cast long shadows over faces etched with hardship and suspicion. Eyes that once greeted him with respect, now averted or narrowed with disdain. The barkeep, a grizzled man with a face like weathered stone, slid a mug of bitter ale across the scarred counter without a word. Rourke accepted it with a nod, the liquid burning down his throat as he sank onto a battered stool. His thoughts churned like the storm outside, memories of command and camaraderie slipping through his fingers like grains of sand. Then, from the far corner, a figure emerged, silhouette cloaked in dark fabric, the hood drawn low to obscure their face. The tavern quieted, the murmurs fading to a tense hush as the stranger approached. Sliding into the seat opposite Rourke, the figure produced a weathered map, its edges frayed and stained with age. The lantern light caught on intricate symbols and faded script, hinting at secrets long buried beneath the submerged world's surface. Captain Rourke, the stranger's voice was low and measured, carrying an undercurrent of authority. Your fall from grace is known, but so is your skill. There is a task only you can undertake, a chance to restore what you have lost. Rourke's eyes narrowed, suspicion mingling with a flicker of something long suppressed hope. And what, pray tell, would that task be? The map was pushed closer. To deliver the ghost Helm to the island of Erinda. It is said to be cursed, doomed to bring misfortune to any vessel that carries it. Few dare to accept such a burden. A bitter laugh escaped Rourke's lips. A cursed helm sounds like a death sentence. Perhaps, the benefactor replied, voice almost a whisper. Or perhaps a chance at redemption. Days later, aboard a derelict barge drifting at the edge of the floating docks, Rourke confronted first mate Callan. The man's eyes were cold, the scar on his cheek a stark reminder of battles fought and lost. You've doomed us all, Rourke, Callan spat, voice rough with anger. Your recklessness costs lives and honor. I am no stranger to blame, Callan Rourke replied evenly. But this chance the helmet could change everything. Callan's jaw tightened. or it could be the final nail in our coffin. The wind tugged at their coats, carrying the distant cries of seabirds and the ever-present hum of the airborne currents. Between them lay the fragile thread of trust, fraying with every word. Night fell, and Rourke found himself alone once more, staring skyward. The clouds parted to reveal the swirling currents, vibrant ribbons of light and shadow weaving between the islands like spectral rivers. The very air seemed alive with possibility and peril. With a steadying breath, he made his choice. Redemption wasn't a gift, it was a battle, and he intended to fight. The Harbinger awaited, a weathered skyship ready to carry him into the unknown. As the first light of dawn brushed the horizon, Rourke stepped forward, the cursed ghost Helm's shadow stretching long and dark behind him. The journey had begun. The faded timbers of the Harbinger groaned under the weight of years and neglect. Yet to Captain Rourke, it was a vessel brimming with possibility, battered steed ready to bear him toward redemption. The sun, a molten orb sinking beneath the horizon, cast long shadows across the floating docks where the ship awaited her new crew. A salty breeze stirred the rigging, carrying with it the whispers of the submerged world, a reminder of the skies they would soon brave. Rourke stood at the prow, his scarred visage etched with resolve and a trace of weariness. His once proud uniform was replaced by a leather coat, heavy with the scent of oil and salt. Around him, the air buzzed with murmurs of doubt. The tale of his disgrace had traveled faster than the wind, and the crew he must assemble were reluctant shadows lingering on the edge of trust. The first to answer his call was Alara Voss, a navigator as skilled as she was guarded. She arrived under the guise of twilight, her sharp green eyes scanning the deck with a mixture of curiosity and caution. "Captain," she greeted, voiced low and steady, "the currents are as fickle as ever. Navigating them will require more than charts and instruments." Rourke nodded, sensing the weight behind her words. "Then we'll need your cunning, Alara. No one knows the skies better." In the cramped navigation room, Alara unfurled faded maps, their edges tattered from countless voyages. Lantern light flickered, casting a golden glow that danced with the shadows of swirling ink and hand-drawn currents. Her fingers traced the paths of treacherous winds, each line a memory of past mistakes and lost comrades. The ghosts of failure lingered in her gaze, a silent burden she bore with quiet determination. Elsewhere on the ship, Tamsin Greer, the engineer, was a whirlwind of energy and sharp words. Her fiery braid whipped behind her as she darted between the sputtering engines and tangled pipes. Soot smudged her cheeks and hands, testament to countless hours coaxing life from metal and steam. "This Helm," she spat one afternoon during a heated exchange in the engine room, "is nothing but superstition. Cursed cargo or not, it's the ship and crew that make or break a journey." Rourke met her glare evenly, feeling the sting of her skepticism but acknowledging the truth in her pragmatism. Superstition or not, it's what we carry that sets the course. We can't afford doubt to unravel us before we even leave port. The tension between them crackled like the sparking wires overhead, but beneath the sharp tongues lay a shared desire to see the voyage succeed. As the crew came together, a figure cloaked in shadow made no sound. The mysterious passenger moved with an eerie grace, their presence unsettling yet compelling. When Rourke finally confronted them on the aft deck beneath a silvered moon, their violet eyes gleamed with unreadable intent. "You carry a burden, Captain," they said softly, "but the Helm carries secrets far older than your disgrace." Rourke's jaw tightened. "Then you'd best share those secrets before we sail into the unknown." Their cryptic smile was the only answer, a promise of revelations and dangers to come. Preparations for departure were fraught with whispered arguments and uneasy alliances. Supplies were loaded with care, the ghost helm secured in a reinforced crate chained to the deck. The crew's unease was palpable. Every shadow seemed to stretch longer, every gust of wind a warning. Yet, amid the doubts and fears, a fragile hope blossomed. Rourke knew that this motley crew, with all their scars and secrets, were the only chance he had to reclaim his honor and steer the Harbinger through the haunted skies. As night deepened and the stars blinked awake, the ship waited silently, poised on the edge of destiny. Somewhere beyond the floating islands and shifting currents lay the distant shore where the ghost helm's tale would either end in doom or begin anew. With a final glance at the assembled crew, Rourke raised his voice, steady and commanding. "We sail at dawn. Hold fast to your courage, for the skies will test us all." The promise of the journey hung thick in the air, a whisper on the wind that carried both dread and determination. And so, the Harbinger's crew settled in for the night, their hearts heavy with the weight of the cursed cargo and the uncertain future that awaited them beyond the horizon. The morning sky over the floating docks was a canvas of roiling greys and swirling blues, the air alive with the scent of salt and the distant thunder of the haunted sea's restless depths. Captain Rourke stood at the prow of the Harbinger, the newly acquired skyship creaking beneath his boots as the crew bustled about, preparing for departure. The ship was a weathered beauty, its sails patched and frayed, but still proud, its wooden frame etched with scars from decades of airborne voyages. Yet today, it carried a heavier burden, the ghost helm, an artifact whispered to doom any ship that bore it. Rourke's mind churned with memories of the Seabreaker, his former command, and the catastrophe that had stripped him of honor. Today was his chance at redemption, but every eye on deck bore the weight of skepticism. The crew's distrust a tangible fog around him. Alara, the navigator, stood near the helm, her keen eyes tracing the shifting currents that danced between the submerged islands below like silver threads. Her fingers traced the intricate carvings on her compass pendant as if seeking guidance from some unseen force. Gideon, the engineer, barked sharp orders to the mechanics, his hands smeared with grease and grime, his voice laced with skepticism about the legend of the ghost helm. Myra, the mysterious passenger, remained a shadowy presence on deck, her eyes glinting with unreadable intent beneath her dark hood. All hands ready. Rourke's voice cut through the morning mist, a clarion call that stirred the crew into final action. The Harbinger's sails caught the airborne currents, billowing like the wings of a great beast awakening. With a deep groan and a shudder, the ship lifted from the floating docks, the wooden beams creaking in protest as they bore the weight of hope and curse alike. The landscape below was a surreal tapestry, submerged forests whose treetops barely pierced the water's surface, islands floating like emerald jewels suspended in the sky, their shadows flickering on the waves beneath. The currents twisted and turned unpredictably, a labyrinthine highway of wind and mist that demanded respect and skill. Alara's voice was steady but tinged with tension. Currents shifting northwest, strong gusts approaching. Rourke nodded, gripping the wheel tightly. "Steady, everyone. We've faced worse." But the haunted sea below was restless. As the Harbinger navigated through a narrow channel between two islands, the sky darkened unnaturally fast. Thunder rolled like the growl of a beast awakened from slumber, and dark clouds churned overhead, blotting out the sun. The spectral energy of the cursed waters seemed to rise, seeping into the air and twisting the currents into violent, unpredictable surges. Storm approaching fast, Gideon shouted, his voice barely audible over the howl of the wind. The crew scrambled, battening down hatches, tightening sails, and securing the cursed cargo below deck. The ghost helm, wrapped in ancient cloth and chained, seemed to pulse with a faint, eerie glow. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the harbinger as it was thrown about like a leaf caught in a tempest. The timbers groaned and creaked, the sails whipped violently, and the ship lurched perilously close to the edge of the current's wrath. "Hold your stations," Rock commanded, his voice rising above the storm. "We'll not be claimed by some ghostly tempest today." Ilara's hands danced over the helm's navigational instruments, eyes sharp for every shift in the currents. "I've never seen anything like this. The sea below's conjuring the storm." Myra's voice, soft yet carrying an uncanny resonance, drifted from the shadows. "The curse feeds on fear and doubt. Hold fast to your courage, or the helm will claim you all." The crew worked in unison, a chaotic ballet of shouted orders, strained muscles, and desperate hope. Rourke's leadership, once questioned, began to solidify as he faced the storm head-on, his commands precise and unwavering. Slowly, the harbinger clawed its way through the tempest, the currents finally easing as the dark clouds began to break. As the storm passed, silence fell over the ship, broken only by the creak of settling wood and the heavy breaths of the exhausted crew. The sun pierced through the dissipating clouds, casting golden light over the battered but unbroken skyship. Rourke surveyed the faces around him, some weary, others wide-eyed with newfound respect. The test had been brutal, but it was only the beginning. The aerial currents still stretched ahead like a wild, untamed sea, and the ghost helm's curse lingered like a shadow over every heart. "We've weathered the worst for now," Rourke said quietly, "but the journey has only just begun. Keep your wits sharp and your blades sharper. The skies hold more than wind and clouds." Ilara nodded, the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. "We'll need every ounce of skill and courage. The currents aren't just air, they're alive." Gideon wiped sweat and grime from his brow, offering a rare, grim smile. "For a cursed helm, this voyage is off to a roaring start." Mira's eyes flickered with a strange light. The ghost helm watches, and it waits. As the harbinger sailed onward, the submerged islands silhouetted against the brightening sky. The crew braced themselves for the trials ahead. Captain Rourke, once dishonored and doubted, felt the stirrings of something long-lost hope tempered by resolve. The haunted sea below whispered warnings, but the skies above promised a reckoning. And somewhere, beyond the endless currents, the legend of the ghost helm awaited its next chapter. The storm had passed, leaving the harbinger battered but aloft, its sails billowing weakly as the crew gathered in the ship's mess hall. The air was thick with the smell of salt and damp wood, lantern light flickering across weary faces. Captain Rourke sat at the head of the table, his fingers drumming nervously against the scarred surface. Around him, the murmurs began soft, hesitant whispers that soon grew into stories shared in hushed tones. Mira leaned forward, her eyes shadowed beneath the brim of her cap. "They say the ghost helm carries the souls of those it's doomed," she murmured, voice barely above the crackling of the fire. "Every ship that bore it met a watery grave or vanished amidst the clouds." Garrick scoffed, wiping grease from his hands onto a rag. "Stories meant to scare sailors. There's always an explanation for lost ships, storm, sabotage, poor seamanship. Curses are for superstitious fools." Ilara remained silent, her gaze distant as if listening to a melody only she could hear. Then, unexpectedly, she spoke in a voice soft and deliberate. "The helm is more than a trinket. It binds the fates of those who carry it, weaving doom as surely as a spider spins its web." A silence fell over the group, broken only by the creak of timber and the distant splash of waves against the hull. Rourke's thoughts drifted back, memories flickering like ghosts in his mind. He saw the Seabreaker, his former command, caught in a spectral tempest, the sky darkened by unnatural shadows. The helm on his head had glowed with an eerie light, cold and unyielding. The screams of his crew echoed in the tempest as the ship was torn asunder, swallowed by the haunted sea below. Back in the present, a sudden chill swept through the mess hall. Lanterns swung violently, casting grotesque shadows that danced upon the walls. A faint whisper, like voices carried on the wind, brushed against their ears. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. "Did you hear that?" Mira asked, her voice trembling. Garrick's jaw tightened, but even he looked unsettled. "It's just the wind," he said, though his eyes betrayed doubt. Rourke rose and stepped out onto the deck, the cool night air biting at his skin. The clouds above churned restlessly, and strange gusts wrapped around the Harbinger, tugging at ropes and sails as if the very sky were alive. Somewhere in the distance, a low moan echoed a sound that was neither wind nor wave. Elara appeared beside him, her cloak fluttering like a shadow in the night. She raised her hands, murmuring words that seemed to draw the restless spirits closer. Rourke felt a shiver run down his spine, the weight of the cursed helm pressing down upon him, even though it was far from his grasp. "We are not alone," she whispered, eyes gleaming with an unsettling light. "The curse awakens." The deck beneath their feet groaned as if the ship itself sensed the stirrings of something ancient and malevolent. Rourke's heart pounded not just with fear, but with a fierce determination. This was no mere superstition. The ghost helm's shadow was real, and it threatened to consume them all. As the night deepened, the crew's whispered fears coalesced into a chilling certainty. The curse was more than legend, and the Harbinger carried not just a helm, but the weight of doom. Yet, amid the growing dread, a fragile thread of hope remained, that through courage and unity they might survive the haunted skies and the ghosts of their pasts. Rourke clenched his fists, meeting the gaze of each crew member. "We carry this curse together," he said, voice steady but resolute, "and together we will see it through." But as the first pale light of dawn edged the horizon, one question haunted him more than any storm or shadow. Was he truly the captain to lead them through the curse's grasp-paw? Was he the first to fall? The Harbinger sailed on, its course set through darkening skies and whispered legends. The ghost helm's curse looming ever closer, its secrets waiting to be unraveled in the chapters ahead. The morning air hung heavy with mist as the Harbinger approached the jagged silhouettes of the submerged islands known among skyfarers as the Islands of the Forgotten, their peaks, crowned with tangled forests and crumbling ruins, pierced the low-hanging fog like ancient sentinels guarding secrets long buried beneath the waves and clouds. Captain Rourke stood at the helm, his gaze sharp despite the gnawing weight of uncertainty pressing against his chest. The skyship's timbers groaned softly beneath the tension, the aerial currents shifting like restless spirits around them. Below deck, the crew moved with a mix of caution and urgency. Elara adjusted her compass, a frown etched deep across her face as she murmured calculations. "These islands, the currents here are treacherous, and the legends darker still. Lost sailors and cursed cargo, this place does not welcome the living." Tess, ever skeptical, scoffed as she wiped grease from her hands. "Legends are for landlubbers scared of their own shadows. We need supplies, not ghost stories." Miro remained silent, a shadow among shadows, his hooded gaze flickering with inscrutable intent. He seemed almost to blend with the swirling mists, an enigma wrapped in whispered rumors. As the Harbinger descended through the thickening fog, the crew caught glimpses of the island's eerie beauty trees bowed beneath the weight of hanging moss, ruins half swallowed by earth and time, and the faint shimmer of spectral lights dancing just beyond the veil of sight. The air was thick with the scent of salt and decay, the distant call of unseen birds echoing like mournful cries. Rourke signaled for the ship to anchor near a rocky cove, where a narrow dock clung precariously to the island's edge. The crew prepared to disembark, the weight of the ghost Helm's curse heavy on their minds. But the practical need for provisions left no room for hesitation. On the shore, rough-skinned islanders emerged from the shadows of their huts, their bodies marked with swirling blue tattoos that seemed to pulse faintly in the dim light. Their eyes, sharp and unyielding, bore into the newcomers with a mixture of suspicion and quiet menace. The leader, a towering figure with a scar tracing down his cheek, stepped forward, brandishing a spear tipped with jagged bone. Rourke raised his hands in a gesture of peace. "We come in need, not conflict. Our ship carries a burden accursed Helm we must deliver far from here. We seek only safe passage and supplies to continue." The islanders responded with silence, their gazes flickering to the helm secured below deck, its faint, unnatural glow visible through the hatch. Mistrust hung thick between them, a living thing that coiled and writhed like the currents themselves. Negotiations were tense, words measured and sharp, the salty breeze carrying the scent of brine and smoke from distant fires. Ilara whispered to Rourke, "They fear the curse, Captain. They know more than they admit." Suddenly, from the tree line came a chilling wail that cut through the air like a blade. The islanders stiffened, eyes wide with terror and reverence. From the mist emerged figures of translucent form, ghostly sailors clad in tattered uniforms, faces twisted in eternal anguish, drifting silently yet threateningly towards the shore. The crew froze as the spectral apparitions moved among them, their mournful cries echoing through the trees. Tess gripped her wrench like a weapon, heart pounding. "By the gears, what in the cursed sky is that?" Rourke called out, voice steady despite the rising dread. "Hold your ground. These are the lost, bound to these isles by some ancient sorrow. We must not provoke them." But the islanders scattered, fear overtaking their hostility as they fled into the shadows. The ghost's presence shattered the fragile truce and plunged the crew into chaos. Miro stepped forward, his voice calm and low. "They are warnings, or worse guards of secrets we are not meant to uncover." As night fell, the Harbinger stood anchored beneath a storm-darkened sky. Lightning flashed, illuminating the haunted islands and casting long shadows across the water. The crew gathered on deck, tension crackling like static in the air. Whispers of fear and suspicion passed between them, cracks forming in their fragile unity. Rourke faced his crew, voice resolute. "We carry a curse, yes, but also a purpose. We will not be undone by ghosts or mistrust. Tomorrow we sail on, together." The islands loomed behind them, silent witnesses to the struggle unfolding both within the Harbinger and in the skies that stretched endlessly above a world where the past refused to rest and the future hung precariously in the balance. And yet, beneath the veil of mist and shadow, something stirred, an ancient force watching, waiting, its secrets entwined with the fate of the ghost Helm and those who dared to carry it into the endless sky.